Oh boy, welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time. Ask and you shall receive. I have it's to my right, but I guess technically to your left. How do I communicate? Another tab open. That's my bad. Anyway, happy Tuesday. Robert and I are here for a special Tuesday night edition of A to Z Sports Prime Time. Easton was kind enough to swap out with us because I said, Mike Borgonzi gave a press conference. I don't want to wait until Wednesday. Then Easton has been good to help us out all year long with taking a primetime show off my plate, and letting me pick and choose when I want to drop in. But this, dear friends, felt like the right combination of people to greet you with. Because not only did Mike Borgonzi speak about the Titans head coaching search today, but John Harbaugh has been fired by the Baltimore Ravens. And so ask and you shall receive. I present to you Robert Walsh, noted Ravens fan. And I don't know, how do you think you're going to interact with them today? How do you think this is going to go between you and them?
You and them being the fans and people in the chat?
Yes, the Titans fans who preyed on your team's downfall, who probably called John Harbaugh a choker at some point, really any point in the last couple of years, given the amount of fourth quarters that they have seen games of consequence slip away from them. They probably shit on John Harbaugh a great deal until today, when you have never met a thirstier ass fan base than the Tennessee Titans. And listen, I get it, but I don't. You wanted Robert here, and I don't know if you're going to like Robert being here by the end of the show.
Yeah. Now, listen, I don't have any problem with most people. Most people have been very cordial about this. The people that I have a problem with are those people like, the Redbirds, you choking son of a bitch. You guys can't handle it. And then John Harbaugh comes like, John. I'd love for John Harbaugh to be my head coach. So for those people that ran their mouth, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. But I do feel like I need to make a statement first about John's firing.
Well, why don't you do that right after I remind people to share the broadcast around? It's going to be a big off season. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We've got much coaching search stuff to talk about. I also have to point and laugh at the Titans for even deigning to interview Jason Garrett, and that news breaking within 20 minutes of the John Harbaugh firing, because of course they're going to talk to Jason Garrett. But share the show around. We're made possible by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, by TrueMav Fitness, the best workout in Middle Tennessee, by the wonderful people at Simon Says Nashville, the premier men's clothing spot in Nashville is Simon Says Nashville, and by the Tennessee Department of Transportation, who reminds you that nobody trashes Tennessee. You can be a part of the solution to end littering at nobodytrashestn.com. All right, I want your initial reaction to John Harbaugh being fired in the chat, and I cede the floor to Robert Lee Walsh. What do you got?
It's funny, the Jason Garrett news came out today. It's kind of apropos because when the Ravens were trying to decide their head coach some 18 seasons ago, it was down to Jason Garrett and John Harbaugh. Many people before the cycle started thought that Jason Garrett was the much better coach, and that him going to Dallas kind of slept and left Baltimore with the bridesmaid and not the bride. But it turned out to be the opposite. I don't harbor the same negative feelings that a lot of Ravens fans have for John, because I understand how hard it is to be a good coach in the NFL. I've been one on Madden many, many seasons. It's not easy. I respect John a lot because he's just a good dude. He never bitched in the media or threw players under the bus. Like, people may have not liked him. The stories about the Ravens Super Bowl team despising him and winning in spite of him. John is the only head coach I've ever known. And sometimes there were a lot of reports.
It's only the third one they've ever had.
I mean, it's only since 98, 97, whatever the year was. But, I mean, still, it's one guy for that long. It was time. Like, I don't want to disparage John at all. I think John's a fantastic coach. But sometimes two people who lived together for 40 years realize that maybe I'm not as in love with this person as I was when we got together. And they realize they're better, it's more amicable if they separate. Sometimes you have a dog, you love Sparky, but Sparky gets old and it's hard for Sparky to go down steps. And then Sparky stops eating. Sometimes it's time to take Sparky to the vet and say goodbye. It was time to Old Yeller John Harbaugh today. But the difference in Old Yeller, he didn't get bit and have rabies and his life is over. I feel like John, and I feel like everyone feels like John, is the number one coaching candidate in the cycle now, far and away. So whoever gets John should be tickled pink. I will always love John. If John comes here, you'll get to hear me slobber all over him at training camp. I would do anything in my power to get close to that J.C. Penney's wearing dude.
You better be nice to me. I'm your in. Mm-hmm.
But someone asked, do I think John Harbaugh would come to Nashville? I think he would if there were no other options. You losers! He's never going to come here. You talked all that crap. How's it feel to have us? Now we in the job market. We coming in to interview all the guys you like. Oh, you like Chris Shula? You like Clint Kubiak? You like Brian Flores? You like Anthony Weaver? Give them here. I'm going to talk to him first. I'm going to kiss all over him before you get to talk to him. So Duke's up because we're fighting over manpower and man hours now. So yeah. Where's Ocho at?
I don't know.
Hold on, where's Ocho at? He was talking a whole lot of shit yesterday.
Look at you.
Harbaugh coming to the Music City. Oh, Lamar gonna leave. Oh, you know what? If you were to be reborn into an inanimate object, you would be born into a projector. Because everything, you're never going to be good again. That's you, Ocho Main. You're never going to be good again.
Now, wait just a damn minute. I'm supposed to be the one that tells them that their job isn't good enough for John Harbaugh, not you.
Well, I'll let you do that.
Okay.
Everyone have a great night.
Let's do a little prime time. I wanted to start that way because Robert obviously is a Ravens fan and he would have the best context of this. But I do think that this is an interesting circumstance, and I think it's a double-edged sword. I think it's a blessing and a curse that the John Harbaugh situation comes down now in the middle of the Titans coaching search because it does upend a great many things. So your Two Rivers Ford take in the comments on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. I will remind you, what was your reaction to just about, 2 hours ago, John Harbaugh being fired by the Baltimore Ravens? Robert, in fact, if you could get me something that would fit on the screen of John Harbaugh's statement so I could read that for people at your earliest convenience, because we're going to raw dog it tonight, no video. Your Two Rivers Ford take is made possible by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That's Two Rivers Ford, quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service on offer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. Okay, so as you look at this circumstance from a Titans context, okay, John Harbaugh should be the guy that you want. You may have some kind of issue, or you may think, the Ravens, sloppy seconds. What do I want? A failed former head coach? Isn't that what you? I mean, he's not failed by any stretch of the imagination. He's the most accomplished by a mile, other than Mike McCarthy. They both have the same number of Super Bowl victories under their belt. But why, as I look at John Harbaugh, would I think that he would have a real shot of being the Titans' next head coach? Curtis on YouTube says, long as it's not Nagy or Stefanski, cool here. People providing some commentary saying, Buck's going to say no one wants to come to Tennessee because he doesn't want to be here. Oh, no. In fact, many of you asked me why I continue to cover the Tennessee Titans if I'm so down on the way that they operate. It's because I love Tennessee. I've lived in Tennessee longer than any place I've lived in my life. I love it here. I hate how bad your football team is because I would rather cover competitive football, and I appreciated that they were good when I first got here, and I'm very upset that they can't get their shit together to operate at a higher level because I don't, to sound like an asshole, I don't like my time wasted. And I feel like my time is infinitely wasted by a team that just continues to cycle downward these last couple of years. Does that mean they're going to continue to do so forever? No. Do I hope that they continue to do so forever? God, no, because I love it here. Nashville's always going to be my home no matter what happens in my life. I'm going to live or I'm going to own a home in Nashville, Tennessee. So if you think I don't love it here, you're dead wrong. I don't love the level of incompetency that your football franchise displays on a regular basis that makes the job more difficult than it should be. But as it relates to John Harbaugh, there's a couple of things that pop into my mind. He should be the guy that the Titans go all out to get. Absolutely, without question. He is the Mike Vrabel. He is the Ben Johnson. He is the number one candidate in this cycle, bar none. Ravens sloppy seconds, so what? You'll take him. That's a proven champion. And if he's looking for a fresh start immediately, you should do everything in your power to land him. So on the initial reaction of this, for me, in any case, my Two Rivers Ford take as we continue to talk about all the different things that are going to be possible and the things that will continue to pop up as we move forward, I do expect them to request him for an interview, obviously. I don't know if he will decide to take the interview. He doesn't have to. He is going to be the most popular candidate on the market by a mile. But my initial reaction was, I'd sit out of here. If depending on what he thinks of what these jobs are, so Atlanta, Vegas, Tennessee, Arizona, Cleveland, and whom am I forgetting? There's one that I'm forgetting, the Giants. Those 6 jobs that are currently open. And by the way, Adam Schefter pointing out that in the situation of John Harbaugh, his agent said that 7 teams contacted John Harbaugh, which means at least one team with an active head coach in place reached out to John Harbaugh's agent about hiring John Harbaugh. So we may see a situation where a team decides, do I really like my guy more than I'd like having John Harbaugh coach my team? Nope. Let's go get him out of here and let's go find John Harbaugh. Let's go get John Harbaugh. Perhaps with Tampa and Miami and a couple of different things that are still in flux, pending various, general manager hires and things like that. It is going to be fascinating to see what the John Harbaugh sweepstakes, and make no mistake, they are sweepstakes, what this exactly looks like. So my initial reaction was, depending on what he thinks about the job, I would take a year off. If he doesn't think that Vegas or Atlanta or Tennessee or Cleveland is something that he wants to continue to advance his career forward with, he wants a better second act. He's 63, so he's not, a spring chicken by any stretch of the imagination. I think Vrabel was 48 or 49. Ben Johnson, I think, is a little younger than that. So it's a different circumstance. But if I was John Harbaugh, I would look around me personally with the idea that Green Bay could come open, with the idea that I could be Joe Burrow's coach, with the idea that Dallas may not want to see the Schottenheimer experience through, having already fired their defensive coordinator there and finishing out of the playoffs again this season. All 3 of those jobs could very well be open next cycle. And it's not quite the same as like the quarterback draft, right? Where last year you were told that, don't draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. Next year's class will be better. And this year you're being told, don't draft Fernando Mendoza. Next year's class will be better. That, I think, is not as good a comparison as this circumstance, which you see a lot of different situations. Tennessee is different than Vegas, is different than Atlanta, is different than Cleveland. But I'm looking around at all these jobs and thinking they all have serious flaws in one way or the other in some form or fashion. Why would he not be more selective? If I was him, if I just got done with an 18-year run with the same organization, would I really want to jump right back in? I would enjoy being the belle of the ball if I was John Harbaugh. He could have his Lane Kiffin experience where people are throwing money at him from all over the place. And the Giants right now, according to Adam Schefter, are the favorite to land him. Maybe New York is the kind of job that John Harbaugh would want, and maybe that is good enough for him to stay in this cycle and just go right back into the circumstance in 2026. But this is interesting because it was a firing. John Harbaugh in a statement from the Ravens, and we will read from Steve Bisciotti, not Bisciotti, as the Ravens owner, following a comprehensive evaluation of the season and the overall direction of our organization, I decided to make a change at head coach. Today, I informed John that he had been relieved of his duties. This was an incredibly difficult decision given the tremendous 18 years we have spent together and the profound respect I have for John as a coach, and most importantly, as a great man of integrity. Throughout what I firmly believe is a Hall of Fame coaching career, John has delivered a Super Bowl championship to Baltimore and served as a steadfast pillar of humility and leadership. He and his family have deeply embedded themselves in this community. For these profound contributions on and off the field, we should all be forever grateful. Our goal has always been and will always be to win championships. We strive to consistently perform at the highest level on the field and be a team and organization our fans take pride in. I will always be grateful for the extraordinary hard work and dedication displayed by John and his staff throughout the many successful years. I wish he, Ingrid, Allison, all the best going forward. We now begin the challenging but exciting process of yada, yada, yada. You don't care about the Ravens hiring their next head coach. Well, Robert does, but you understand. As a Titans fan, we understand. So I think that if I was John Harbaugh and I wasn't super sold on any of these jobs, I would sit it out. Vrabel did it. It worked out better for him. Ben Johnson didn't sit it out. He went back to coach in Detroit, but it's not taking a head coaching job just for the sake of taking a head coaching job. I look at Atlanta and Vegas with similar cap space to the Titans as being better jobs. I would probably put the Giants over the Titans, but I would put the Titans no lower than fourth. I'm optimistic on Cam Ward. Obviously, the cap space is a good thing, and Mike Borgonzi is somebody who is very well respected around the league. That could be enough for John Harbaugh. It might be enough for John Harbaugh. Me personally, having gotten an up front and center seat to all of this, and understanding that the Titans' biggest flaw is the person that owns them, and you could say that of many organizations, I would look at this job and be like, yeah, that's not going to be for me, but I appreciate your interest. We will see. We will see. I don't think that they should not. I think that they should make every effort to land him as their head coach. They could do no better. Absolutely, they could do no better in this cycle than hiring John Harbaugh. I just think, and we'll talk about it. Well, why don't I ask you this? What percentage chance do you give the Titans of landing John Harbaugh as the next head coach? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. I'll give you my percentage here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the wonderful people at Simon Says Nashville, where you could stand to dress better. I've seen a lot of you. You could stand to dress better. Simon Says Nashville is there to get you in position to succeed. They also have great discounts right now, 40% off and expanded holiday season hours for you to go check out all of their offerings, conveniently located in Wedgwood, Houston, in the Gulch. Wedgwood, Houston, not in the Gulch, Wedgwood, Houston, the neighborhood. SimonSaysNashville.com for more details. Go visit them today. If you like my brown corduroy jacket that I was wearing at Jacksonville, I got that from Simon Says. It's a great, great jacket and great value on that jacket, which I appreciate. All right. So what percentage chance do you give the Tennessee Titans of landing John Harbaugh this year? So let's see. Let's go through some of these percentages. Christopher must be drunk. He says 98%. I would say it's closer to 2 than it is to 98. Elizabeth George, 10. Rashid, 37. Larry, 15. William, 25. So, all manner of ranges. And I think a lot of people are optimistic. Listen, I don't think that you should be down on your job. But I said it's kind of jokingly, not really jokingly. I mean, I mean it. Somebody in the A to Z group chat was talking about the idea of them interviewing the news that they were going to interview Jason Garrett, which objectively is hilarious. And like Titans fans need to suffer anymore. And maybe Jason Garrett is equipped to do this job again. I don't know. But my God, the timing of it. In the middle of the John Harbaugh sweepstakes starting for you to see, the Titans plan to interview Jason Garrett on Monday. Yeah, that's really not inspiring. So I think that Titans fans should be optimistic about their job. But anyway, we were talking about this in the A to Z Sports group text, and I apologize if it's a colleague of mine that I should know, but I don't have the number saved. So there's a number in there talking about Mike Borgonzi's just wasting time interviewing Vance Joseph, Lou Anarumo, Jason Garrett, all of these kind of middling names for the Titans job. And they're going to interview a lot of candidates. And we talked to Mike Borgonzi today, and I think they're going to be thorough about this. I really genuinely do think you're in good hands with Mike Borgonzi. For as much as down as I am on the things that have got the Titans here, Mike Borgonzi isn't one of those things that got the Titans to their lowest point these last 4 seasons. So as I look at this and I say, John Harbaugh and the Titans, in the group text, my response was, you don't understand that you are the Vance Joseph of jobs right now. And I know fans don't want to hear it, and you don't have to accept that. You should have higher standards than that. You should want the best coach possible. I'm not down on fans wanting the best solution humanly possible. Of course, you should shoot for the stars. Your organization should shoot for the stars. But realistically, what are you? Like, what are you? You're a quarterback that has potential, but the potential hasn't manifested yet. We'll see. You've got cap space. You've got resources, but you've had that before and you shit the bed. You've got a GM that is respected league-wide, and he is going to run the coaching search. But at the end of the day, he still answers to, I might argue, one of the most, if not the most, erratic owner in football, and that is a turnoff to a lot of people. This place is the Vance Joseph of jobs at this point in time. Now, it was the Vance Joseph of jobs last year, and because they had the number 1 overall pick, Mike Borgonzi looked around and had a good working relationship with Chad Brinker and said, I trust it enough that I'm willing to do this, to take this jump, and to try and turn this place into something viable. They could do it again. They could shock me and anybody else who's looking at this job and thinking less of it than the rest of the jobs out there, and they could land the big fish for a second year. They did it last year. I thought there was no way, no shot in hell that Mike Borgonzi would actually consider this job. I underestimated the 13-year relationship, I believe it is, that he has with Chad Brinker, somebody he considers to be invaluable. That trust means something to these people if they're going to enter into a situation where the higher ups are not to be trusted, frankly, at this point in time, no matter what they say about the situation. Bustin says, Buck, you say we have an erratic owner, but the Giants have a lame duck GM. Yes, I don't like the Joe Schoen situation. I would be skeptical of the Joe Schoen situation. I don't discount that at all. I would pick Mike Borgonzi over Joe Schoen. I think that New York is an interesting thing. New York has less heavy lifting to do in a division that theoretically, I think they're closer to, the Eagles than the Titans are to the Jags at this point in time. Those fortunes could flip year over year. We see a lot of teams do exactly that. But I think that New York is in a better situation. And, if you're hiring John Harbaugh, if you're an owner enamored with John Harbaugh and John Harbaugh decides he wants Joe Schoen out, John Harbaugh is going to have the juice if he takes the Giants job. Again, I think that none of these jobs are overwhelmingly attractive, which is why my initial reaction to John Harbaugh going into the cycle is, unless he really, really, really just wants to coach again, I'd take a pass. I'd sit this one out, and I'd look at how much more attractive do I get? I'm the most attractive candidate on the market right now. How much more attractive do I get for how much better jobs should better jobs become available next year? Now, you can only do that for so long because you're 63 and you're not exactly a spring chicken in this particular point in time. But I bet the Giants make the biggest push to land him, and I would be, if I had to put a percentage on it, on a scale of 1 to 100, what percentage chance do I think the Titans have of landing John Harbaugh? I will give them a 2.5% chance. As we sit here today on Tuesday, January the 6th, I will give them a 2.5% chance. I don't think it's impossible. I sure as hell don't think it's likely. And I reserve the right to be proven wrong. They could do a better job of this than I am comfortable giving them credit for. And I have no problem not giving them any credit for anything because they've been a disaster for 4 years, and they shouldn't get any credit for any of this. Certainly, there's no credit to be had. You're 3-14 back-to-back. You're an organization that looks a bit adrift. You have an owner that promised to stick to the plan and then didn't stick to the plan. By the way, she was right to not stick to the plan this time around. She fired Brian Callahan, and that was the right decision. So it doesn't mean just because she didn't stick to the plan that she got it wrong. But it also doesn't mean that you should trust her when she says she's going to stick to the plan about patience over panic and all these different things. So that's my initial reaction. I would give them a 2.5% chance of getting him because he's going to be the most attractive candidate on the market. And I don't think you're the most attractive job. We will see how this plays out. We got a long way to go before they can't even start interviewing guys in the playoffs until the next couple of weeks. Now, the double-edged sword of this, the blessing and a curse of this, is that John Harbaugh immediately becomes, theoretically, available for you to hire. And that's a good thing, even if you swing and you miss. The other part of this is, well, the Ravens are the most attractive job by a mile. It's not even close. It's not even competitive. I just named all the 7 jobs that are now open. Baltimore blows all the rest of them out of the water. Lamar Jackson is a 2-time MVP, and whatever. Maybe he stays up too late. I don't know. I don't know whether to believe these things that were written in the Baltimore Sun. I have no reason to discount the credibility of the columnist that wrote them. I'm not in Baltimore to be able to cross-reference it. I know Robert had strong opinions about it, and I really do. I talk a lot of shit about him, rightfully so. He deserves it, but I do value Robert's perspective on this because I don't think there's many people that pay as close attention to their favorite teams and who's in and who's out as far as the connectivity of the media that covers the franchise and the franchise itself. I think Robert is very attuned to that. So when he says things to me about the credibility of the column, I listen. I genuinely do, even though I'm a media guy and I wouldn't appreciate somebody doing that to me. But as I sit here today, looking at the Lamar Jackson situation, who gives a shit if he stays up too late or if his diet isn't great? You see what he looked like last year before his back started hurting? This is the best football he's ever played. And I don't know how sustainable that is for Lamar because Lamar's abilities at some point, it's not going to age the way that Phillip Rivers might, right? Like there might be a shorter lifespan, career lifespan for a quarterback like Lamar Jackson than a guy who doesn't necessarily rely on the athletic abilities that Lamar does. And Lamar is obviously a gifted passer too. I wouldn't take that away from him either. But you see how difficult it was when he was made a bit more one-dimensional this season. And also there were other problems. Their defense was a sieve. They were averaging like 35 points a game for the first quarter of the season until the Eloy Gilman trade and Kyle Hamilton could be moved into a more beneficial position and all these different things, right? The Ravens' problems are not just singular to Lamar had a back problem this year, and maybe he stays up too late at night. But as I sit here looking at the circumstance, I would say that the Ravens are the most attractive job by a mile because they've got the best quarterback by a mile. And not only do they have the best quarterback by a mile, they have the best roster by a mile. And now with the opportunity to reset the board, and I know a lot of Ravens fans were mostly down on the idea of Zach Orr as the defensive coordinator. Maybe they didn't agree with the way that Todd Monken handled Derrick Henry's usage, but it was mostly about the usage of the players and not necessarily about the roster itself. I do think that the Ravens are far closer to being back in the mix than they are to being one of these bottom dwellers like the Titans in Arizona and all these other things. So my percentage chance on the Titans getting John Harbaugh, 2.5. The Ravens' job immediately becomes the most attractive job, and that's a problem for you because if the Ravens are the most attractive job and in this hypothetical world you don't get John Harbaugh, then the most attractive candidate or whomever the Ravens deem to be the most attractive candidate, you're basically at the Ravens' mercy now in the hiring cycle, and you don't necessarily want to be in that situation. So the Ravens get the pick of the litter or whom they deem to be the pick of the litter, and you have to settle for sloppy seconds and not necessarily the sloppy seconds that you want, which is the guy on the graphic. John Harbaugh are the sloppy seconds that you want. You don't want to have to settle for the second best, theoretically, third best. If Harbaugh is the best and whomever the Ravens would hire would be the best, then you don't want to have to settle for thirds. And all of a sudden you're looking around and Jason Garrett is looking back at you, doing his little golf clap, and you're like, oh, shit. Or Stefanski or Nagy. I mean, my God, if they hire Matt Nagy now, think about how pissy and miserable you all are going to be. It's I don't envy you. I don't envy you because it is a good thing that he's out there because theoretically you can have him. But the percentage chance that you land him or the next best candidate now becomes that much slimmer because of how many teams are going to want a piece of the John Harbaugh sweepstakes. So as we sit here, looking, Titanomics says, Buck, it doesn't matter. We want Harbaugh. And why would he not want to be here? Oh, because you can't trust your own, because you can't trust the person in charge. And maybe that doesn't mean anything to you, but it means a lot. Hell, they had to clean up the entire front office structure again for like the 17th time because coaching agents were calling and asking, hey, what's the deal here? Who is he going to be working for? Who does he report to? Who reports to whom? How many people are between my guy and the owner? Yeah, I don't think the answer is obvious. The biggest reason why the Titans' job is bad is Amy Adams-Strunk. That's or the behavior of Amy Adams-Strunk to this point. The habits of Amy Adams-Strunk to this point. Does it outweigh Cam Ward? I don't necessarily think so. Like I said, I'm optimistic about Cam. I think that Cam, provided that he is surrounded by the right things, can succeed in the NFL. I am skeptical of the idea of the Titans doing all the things necessary, not out of lack of trying, but I just, I don't trust them to get it right. They've gotten it so wrong so many times. I don't trust them at all to get it right. But yeah, the biggest reason why he wouldn't want to be here is the owner is not somebody you can trust. That's the biggest, most glaring reason. Now, Borgonzi is a draw. Absolutely, Borgonzi is a draw. And that's that right. Honestly, I think that's a bigger feather in your cap, your proverbial cap, than even Cam Ward, because Cam Ward is here because Mike Borgonzi is here. The roster that you theoretically have, the foundation that you have, there's some things there that you like. There's some things there that, like Alec. Is Alec Iamena really a foundational piece? I think it's probably too soon to say, or is he just like a higher end version of NWI? Like foundational players, there's maybe 3 or 4, tops 5 on any one roster. And so who would the 5 be in Tennessee? It would be Jeff Simmons. It would be Cam Ward. I might be willing to grant you a Chimere DK, but I'm really looking at those two and being like, all right, you got 2 out of the 5 theoretical foundational pieces here. That's not enough for me to look at and say, oh yeah, this place is going to be fine. You really have to believe in the vision of Mike Borgonzi, and a lot of people do. Listen, the best thing that I'll say about locker room cleanout day and about the Titans experience this last couple of days, because we had locker room cleanout day yesterday. We had Mike Borgonzi's press conference today. Skoronski. Skoronski deserves to be included in that list. I will grant you Skoronski. But the best thing that I have seen about how this is all, or where this is all headed, is that I think that Mike Borgonzi has the total buy-in of that locker room, of the players that matter and the players that are going to be here long-term. I think the organization, they're trying desperately to put him out in front of you guys and in front of us as much as humanly possible, because he's one of like 5 people that you don't actively hate about your football team at this point in time. But you look at all of the different things that are here, and yeah, it leaves a lot to be desired. New York has more foundational pieces. Atlanta has more foundational pieces. I might even grant you Cleveland has more foundational pieces than you do at this point in time. Not by much, Cleveland, but we're really splitting hairs as far as the attractiveness of these things. So as we sit here today, I think that it is going to be it was already going to be an interesting coaching search. This just adds a little bit of jazz hands to it. Do you realistically think that or do I realistically think that they have a shot at him? No, I don't think that's the case. Titanomics says, can Amy fire you, Buck? Asking me because I kind of like you and don't want to see you get fired with your Amy bashing. No, I don't work for Amy. I'm struck. Listen, if they could have yanked my credential, they would, the ownership side of things would have done 100 years ago. But telling the truth about what they are or what their behavior indicates that they are is not, that's not personal. That's professional criticism, and that's something that I've had to explain to plenty of people that have passed through that organization over the course of the last 10 years. that I've been here. We just wrapped up my 9th season. Next year is going to be my 10th. If they could have put a stake in me by now, they would have done it. But here I am. I last a lot longer than a lot of these people that come through the organization. So no, they can't get rid of me at this point in time. They can hate me, but they can't get rid of me. All right. So looking at the circumstance moving forward, I think that Harbaugh is going to be requested by a lot of different organizations, and I want to see who might emerge, what other jobs might potentially pop open now that John Harbaugh is in the mix. A to Z Sports Prime Time is made possible by the Tennessee Department of Transportation, who reminds you that nobody trashes Tennessee, and you can be a part of the solution to end littering with the great initiative by the wonderful people at TDOT. Nobody trashes TN.com. Good for your community, good for your environment, make you feel good to do it. I think it's therapeutic. Honest to God, you can ask Zach Bingham about this. I don't know how often Zach's popping up on the morning show anymore. I know he's getting ready to have a kid and running an A to Z empire and all these different things. But one of the few times that Zach has been to my house, I was outside of my house picking up trash with my little old man grabber tool. I love it. It makes you feel good, not just because it's a good thing to do, but I do think it's a little therapeutic. Nobody trashes TN.com if you want to find out about more volunteer opportunities today. All right. As we sit here, Robert, you have any parting thoughts on the John Harbaugh experience before we dip our toes into the rest of this nonsense, or have you excoriated Titans fans enough for what?
Excoriated. Hold on, we got to read the definition of that. Excoriated. There's a good one. Excoriated, past tense, to excoriate. Oh my God. To censure or criticize severely. Oh, excoriate. We learned something.
Was a good word.
Nope, I'm done.
So the John Harbaugh circumstance, I really genuinely want to know. Like, him and Mike Tomlin were going to be an interesting case study if one of them ended up out. Obviously, one has. And I saw the memes going around of the Bane thing from Dark Knight Rises? I think is that the Bane movie, where he's saying they're expecting one of us in the Wreckage Brother, and Bane is Mike Tomlin, and the guy that they have to leave in the plane crash dead is Jim Harbaugh. I genuinely want to know if they're going to want to do this right away. 18 years is a long time to do that job. A long time to do that job. And these guys are freaks, right? Like, in terms of how they're wired, I think that many of them would rather, I don't want to say like not live than not coach, but I think some of them are borderline that extreme. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all that John Harbaugh has known his entire life. This is the thing that's been a huge part of his life, certainly as a head coach for these last 2 decades almost. And it would be easy to imagine that he doesn't want to take any kind of a layoff, and that it would only further motivate him. It would also be reasonable to expect that a 63-year-old man who's been doing the same job for 18 years in the exact same place wouldn't necessarily want to jump back into the pool. So as we sit here today, that's the biggest domino that I think we're going to be waiting on, is how many jobs is he going to actually interview for? Will he turn down interview requests the way that, and again, I'm not doing this just to, take a swing at the Titans, but Ben Johnson turned them down. Adam Peters, the general manager of Washington, turned them down. So should the Titans request an interview and John Harbaugh said, you know what, guys, I appreciate your interest, but I'm good, that is also something that I'm going to be interested in. If he does actually want to go through with it, I think he can go through the process. I think he can interview and still sit out, right? You don't, just because you're interviewing doesn't mean that you immediately have to take a job or that you're hell bent on taking a job. You can go through the interview process and be like, I don't have all the things that I had here in Baltimore. I don't have stability the way that I had in Baltimore. I don't have resources the way that I had in Baltimore. I don't have facilities the way that I had in Baltimore. Also, a lot of you guys keep trying to tell me, Mike Borgonzi said this today too, and I was confused by it. Can somebody explain to me why the hell the new stadium is like some kind of an advantage? Like, I don't get it. People keep citing that the new stadium is going to be a thing that would make this place attractive. What relevant? It's nice. It's like a nice little ancillary thing. It's a $2.4 billion whatever. But I don't get why the new stadium makes the Titans' job so much better. They can lose in the new Nissan Stadium the same way they lose in the old Nissan Stadium. They can be outnumbered by Chiefs fans and Packers fans in the new Nissan Stadium the same way that they are in the old Nissan Stadium. Like, who gives a shit about the stadium? Like, the practice facility matters infinitely more than the stadium does. If you're talking about what matters to a coach, for sure, what matters to a coach infinitely more would be the facility to me. I'm very confused by the idea that people keep citing the stadium. That, again, Mike Borgonzi's a football guy, so like maybe there's something I'm missing there. But I pose that question to you: like, what actual advantage is the new Nissan Stadium? I don't get it. But whatever. Maybe there's something, and maybe it's just a season ticket thing. I don't know. I mean, hey, look, we got this thing. You want to come coach here? You'll look great on the sideline. You may get your ass kicked, but you'll look great on the sideline. I don't know. So that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate your participation. We'll have a lot more reaction tomorrow on the radio show from 10 to 1. Robert, me, Lucas, Ben Jones will be there. I want to also talk about what this means, like ripple effects for Derrick Henry tomorrow with the 3 hours that we'll have to stretch our legs on this, because Derrick signed a 2-year extension. And one of the things that I know about Derrick Henry after, what was he here for? Was it 8 years? I don't think it was quite 8 years, but however long Derrick was here, is that he's an introvert and he doesn't like change. And I'm sure that Derrick Henry is not thrilled with the news that he is going to be in a situation where they are going through a coaching search at this point in time. Change can be good, even if you don't like it. So we'll talk about that tomorrow for 3 hours on 104.5 The Zone. Also, a quick reminder on the way out the door, the TrueMav Fitness is the best workout in Middle Tennessee. You can get your first workout free at TrueMavFitness.com. Looking forward to my Arm Farm Friday. Worth was in Colorado skiing this weekend, so I didn't get to work out on Friday the way that I normally do. But perhaps I'll see you in there at TrueMavFitness.com. Like I mentioned, your first workout is free. All right, they'll have reaction on the morning show tomorrow, I'm sure. We'll talk about it for 3 hours on 104.5 The Zone. Make sure you're hanging out with Robert, me, and Lucas, and Ben Jones, and whoever else might pop up with us tomorrow from 10 to 1 on the show. We'll see you there.
He's a hoe, and I want